Hello, everyone. This is Criminal Profiler Pat Brown, and this is Dear Profiler Pat, where you send me your questions and ask for some advice, and I'm always willing to give it because I'm one of those people. And if it helps you, I'm always happy, and if it helps other viewers, I'm even more happy. So if you'd like me to actually answer one of your questions for advice, please do send me an email at profilerpatbrown@gmail.com and put in the subject line, Dear Profiler Pat, so I know what it's about. And if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. Click the bell for notifications and check the playlists for the different areas of life you might like some advice in. All right, this question. Dear Profiler Pat, is my neighbor being unreasonable or am I? Oh, okay. Actually, this wasn't a question sent to me. I stole this off of Dear Eric, but I loved it. It was so interesting to me. I wanted to bring it to this channel. Oftentimes, we will have a problem with a neighbor. The neighbor is complaining about us. Could be we're complaining about the neighbor, but we're gonna be the victims here, right? The neighbor's complaining about us. It could be your roommate who's complaining. It could be a family member who's complaining. So it could be somebody else, not necessarily your neighbor, who is complaining about you or to you, and you think they're taking this way too seriously, or they're being ridiculous, and you're getting really frustrated. Then you don't know what to do about it. Should you report them to somebody? Should you fight back? What do you do? So the real question comes down to begin with, is that person being unreasonable or are you being unreasonable? And a lot of times the biggest problem is we don't see it from the other person's point of view. We only see our point of view. It's not bothering us. Why should it bother them, right? So, for example, simple example before I get to Dear Eric here. Some people like smoking weed. They like to sit on their porch, their deck, and smoke weed all the time. And that weed goes over through the air, and now the next door neighbor is smelling weed all the time. And I'm telling you, I think it smells disgusting. I don't like to smell it. It bugs me when I go to a restaurant. I'm trying to eat outside in a cafe, and I smell weed. Some weed is floating in. Like, oh, I don't want. Do you want your kids smelling the weed? Do you want the kids looking over and seeing you, on the porch? Do you want them to see that? So yes, it's on your property, and maybe it's illegal to smoke. It might be legal to smoke on your deck, but is it affecting the neighbors? And who's wrong there? Do you have the right to enjoy your life the way you want to enjoy it? If it offends other people and affects other people, even if you're still on your own property doing it? See, these are interesting questions, but do you even understand why the neighbor might be upset? Maybe you've got to do something different so you don't piss the neighbor off. And the neighbor has to ask themselves a question. Well, I don't like it when they do it, but how often do they do it? Is it once every 6 months, or are we talking about day in and day out? You have to weigh that out as to how much you need to complain. Noise is like that. If somebody's having a party, there's some people down the way, they have a party every, I don't know, for special occasions. So every maybe, 3 to 6 months, I hear music from my house, and I hear it, and it's nice music. It's some Mexican music and I'm like, oh, that sounds so good. But it's getting late at night, and my real thought is, why wasn't I invited? But if it's only a couple times a year, 3 times a year, I'm not going to get all bent out of shape about it. However, let's say that person was like right next door to me, right on top of me, and every freaking Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, they were playing loud music like that for hours on end. Do I have a right to be annoyed then? Probably. And maybe they should consider that their neighbor, who they haven't invited, doesn't want to hear this to that level. So let me read you the Dear Eric one, because I thought it was kind of interesting. Because it shows, this just seems like such a little thing. So they're like, is this neighbor just out to get us? Why do they hate us? So it says, the actual title is Asking Eric, Our Neighbor Hates Us and We Don't Know Why. And I'm going to say right up front, it's because you're not even paying attention to what the issue is. You're just only seeing it from your point of view. Dear Eric, we have a neighbor a few doors up who hates us. Now, first of all, there's no proof that he hates you. He's annoyed by you, but he doesn't hate you necessarily. We don't really know why, but he doesn't want us to walk, quote, on his sidewalk. He considers that harassment by us, just us. We walk up and down the street for our health and pass his house 6 to 12 times a day. If he sees us through his window or one of the more than 12 cameras on his house or next to the sidewalk so he can eavesdrop, he runs out and turns on a sprinkler so it sprays across the sidewalk, over his cars, and into the street. The police and a lawyer told us to walk on the other side of the street. We are in our 70s, and I am unsteady on my feet, and the other side has more tripping hazards. I also meet up with cats on my side who wait to be petted, and I don't want them running into the street to see me on the other side because, cats never cross the street. It's not legal to water beyond the lawn and illegal to block passage on the sidewalk, but no one will stop him. He did take us to court in 2022 to stop us, but the judge told him we have every right to walk by as many times as we want to. A lot of good that did. We heard from the police that he's preparing to try again. What can we do? All right. Now, this is a response. I'm going to give you Eric's response. I'm going to give you my response. Dear seniors, why won't the authorities step in here? You've already had contact with the police about this. Ask them about the possibility of a restraining order against him. It's perplexing that the response is to warn you about an upcoming lawsuit instead of stepping in to quell a potentially dangerous ongoing dispute. Not really, because it's how dangerous is this? Really? The priority is your protection. If they won't do it, you have to protect yourself. Now, you may have legal standing as well as common sense standing here, but this person has already escalated his attacks on you, and it's likely that continuing to push this issue will put you in danger. Stay away from him. I know this is not fair. I know this affects your quality of life, but he has real problems, and it's best to do everything you can to keep him out of your orbit. It is true to some extent when you have somebody who is very unreasonable and you're frightened by them, maybe it's just the best choice you have is to avoid pissing him off. Okay? Then he says, is it possible to walk 1 block over or take a ride to a nearby park? Can you walk to his house and turn around? Yes, you should be able to walk on your own street, obviously, but this person whose aggressive antisocial tendencies are huge warning signs. Better to be inconvenienced than harmed. Okay. What he didn't address was this. We walk past his house 6 to 12 times a day. Now, I don't know who this guy is, but apparently he sees them through the window or when he's out working in the yard. Now, recently, my son and I were up in Vermont. We stayed in this wonderful bed and breakfast that had a little porch. We sat out there. It was great. We had a couple of beers. We sat on the porch, and people would go by on their bicycles and walking their doggies, and we would go, hey. It was really cool. It was like old-fashioned, lifestyle where you get to know your neighbors. However, we saw a guy go once down this way and once back. What we didn't see, and I'm thinking now, let's assume, because I have a house like this. I have a house where if I sit on my couch, then I have this big window and I see everything that happens outside of that window. Okay. Now I am next to my daughter's house and we're way off the street. So, I see the dogs, I see cars, our cars going in and out. I can look in the distance and see something way down there, but I'm generally speaking, I can sit on my couch. I can eat food there and watch TV. I can read a book. I can whatever, and look out that window, see the trees and all that kind of stuff. Now let's say I was a senior citizen, which I am. Let's say I'm in a senior community, and she doesn't say how old this guy is, but I'm kind of wondering what's the senior community. And now he's sitting there because maybe while she's 70 and thinks they need to get out and walk and walk and walk and walk, maybe he's 70 and likes to sit on his couch and look out the window. So now what he has to deal with is these people constantly, the same people coming by his window. And have you ever felt that awkwardness if you're like walking on a path and somebody's coming along, you're like, should I just ignore them, pretend they're not walking by me, or should I go hi? And then if you walk around, we have a little one of these, it's called Allen Pond in Bowie, Maryland, and you walk around and it takes, I forgot how long it takes to walk around. It's I guess maybe 15 minutes. So you walk around and you say, hi, hi, hi. And then you see these freaking people again because they're walking around again. You're like, do you say hi again? What do you do now? So now this guy's sitting there and he sees people coming by his window. And there they are. And then they come by again. And then they come by again. And then they come by again. And then come by again. I can see where he would get irritated because it's just uncomfortable sometimes when you see the same people just constantly going back and forth in front of your freaking window. And then you're out in the yard, and there they come again. There they come again. There they come. 6 to 12 times a day. That's a lot. So let's go back and look what she has to say. Do they have the right to walk down a public sidewalk? Yes, this is true. However, she won't walk on the other side of the street. Now, what she doesn't say is she doesn't mention there's no sidewalk on the other side of the street. She doesn't mention that. So why not? Why aren't you saying there's no sidewalk, therefore I cannot walk on the other side of the street? My guess is there is a sidewalk on the other side of the street, and she just doesn't want to walk on it, right? So, and she says here, what is the claim she says here? I'm unsteady on my feet, and the other side has more tripping hazards. If you're unsteady on your feet, how are you walking 6 to 12 times past his house? So you're unsteady on your feet. You probably should have a walker, something to keep you steady on your feet. If you're walking along, so there's more tripping hazards. Well, you know what you do. If you don't want to walk by this guy's complaining and walking by his house, you can always cross to the side of the road, and you can walk. Oh my gosh, I don't know, a block or two. If there's maybe let's say the pavements are a little less good. You're walking with your husband. Can he just put his arm around you, and you can walk really slow and go down past on the other side? Or like that, like Eric said, can at some point, if there's, I don't know how many blocks she's really talking about, can you just go to another block and go past his house behind it so he doesn't have to keep seeing you? And if you're just out there for walking, I'm pretty sure you can walk slightly someplace else. Oh, but no, you have to pet the kitty cats because you don't want them to cross the street. You have to 6 to 12 times a day, you must pet the kitty cats. This is a stupid excuse. So I'm beginning to look at this and going, maybe you're just obnoxious. Maybe you just think you can do whatever you want. You don't have to have any concern for anybody else whatsoever, no matter how much you're annoying the crap out of them. And I'm going to say, if she says these things, it may be the reason he's gotten so annoyed is because it's worse than she says. And but let's say, he's just a curmudgeon. I agree with Eric. At some point, stop going to the police and trying to all this kind of crap. Why don't you just find a way to avoid annoying the crap out of him? I'm not saying he may not be right, but then again, you're retired. You can make choices. Why don't you make a choice that works for everybody? Or are you just hell bent on, I can do anything I want to? It's legal. It's kind of like people who drive in the left-hand lane at 55 miles an hour and say, I can drive in the left-hand lane at 55 miles an hour because that's a speed limit. No, that actually isn't the rule. It's a passing lane. Get the hell out of that lane. You don't belong in there unless you're passing somebody. Even if you're going the speed limit, doesn't matter. You move over. Do your speed limit in the right lanes, not in the passing lane. But I've seen people, I have a right to do that. Even though you're causing congestion in traffic, you're pissing off people, you got people running up on your butt, and you're sitting there going, I have a right. Okay, you may having a right and having it not be a problem is two different things. So a lot of times when we look at things, we think, I have the right to do whatever. Maybe true, but one of the things about being a good neighbor or a good friend or a good family member is to not piss everybody off. You might say, I have the right to say anything I want to say. Well, you may have that right, but then people will be annoyed with you. I've seen people, especially people of a certain age, they'll say, well, I've lived all these years and I'm not going to shut up anymore. Oh, you're just going to be an annoying human being now. Okay, great. I don't want to be around you. And then you wonder, why that person doesn't even, they won't be around me. Why is it that they hate me? No, they hate the fact that you won't shut the hell up. That's why they don't want to be around you. It's kind of that simple. So you have to look and say, am I causing the problem? And what I'm doing wrong? Like there was another one about dogs, and I live next to some dogs. And they're not my dogs. I point that out. They're not my dogs. So the problem is I just tried to do a video on my other channel. It took me 4 tries because the dog kept getting out and barking, and I had to stop the video because it was too loud. And this other woman and another dear somebody said, well, my neighbor is complaining because, first of all, she started mowing the lawn at 7 a.m. Maybe you shouldn't do that. People are sleeping at 7 a.m. It's bad enough that some people who work all night long are sleeping during the day, and then somebody goes out and mows the freaking lawn. That's problematic, but at least that's reasonable. The person who works all night long can't expect that their neighbor's going to shut their life down because they have a weird work schedule. See how that goes? They might have to wear something that plug their ears. I mean, when I've traveled and been in youth hostels, there are people there who snore like you wouldn't believe. You always carry things to plug your ears up so you cannot hear them. That's what you do. So you have to decide whether the other person is being unreasonable or you're being unreasonable. So I'm going to say, if you're out there mowing a lawn at 7 in the morning, you are being unreasonable. You shouldn't be doing that. People who sleep a normal schedule should at least not have to be woken up so early in the morning with lawn mowing. Now, I do tend to sleep till 10 in the morning. I go to bed really late. And so I kind of expect sometimes I'm going to be woken up a little bit early with some sort of noise. But then she said, oh, and then I have a problem. I let my dogs out and they bark. Let my dogs out to go to the bathroom at night and they bark like crazy. And the neighbor's upset about that. Well, because your dogs keep waking them up. Now, if you got to let your dog, maybe you need to figure out how to get your dog out to go to the bathroom on a reasonable schedule so it doesn't have to go out in the middle of the night and upset your neighbor. I don't know how you're going to do that, but maybe you need to do that. Maybe you need to get up with your dog, go out with your dog, maybe on the opposite side of the house, and stand out there and stay with your dog so the dog doesn't bark. So you can, you don't want to be inconvenienced, right? Exactly. Neither does your neighbor. What about your crappy kids? Your kids have a right to play in the yard. That's true. But there's some kids play in the yard in such a way that it makes your neighbors miserable. Maybe you have to teach your children to be polite to the neighbors. Imagine that, you have to say to kids, you can't do that in the yard. You can do this and you cannot do that. If you want to do that, you need to go down to the playground, or you need to go down to a field and play over there, or you need to bring this back inside. So you have to respect the other people in your life enough to say to yourself, is there a reason that they're getting upset with something I am doing or something my kids are doing or something my pets are doing? Let me look at it from their point of view and not only my point of view. And then you might have your answer. And so then you would be a better neighbor, a better friend, a better relative, right? And things would go a lot better. But sometimes people, they only want to see their side of it, and they start a whole big war that just gets out of control. And that's what I think this person did with just because I should be able to walk down the street if I want to. Okay. But now look at the problem. And I'm going to say it's because you never even considered what he's dealing with your little walks past his house 6 to 12 times a day. So anyway, those are my thoughts. If you've run into some of these situations, let me know how you handled it. And everybody else will also appreciate some good suggestions. And thank you for being here. And again, new to the channel, please do subscribe, click the bell, check the playlist. Bye.